Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Britton. I'm the HMIS Database Manager for the Continuum of Care TX-601. Today we are actually going to get into ETO and we are going to do a data pool. We were then going to move that data pool over to something called homelessdata.com, which has additional tools for working with HMIS data. Once we're in that homelessdata.com tool, then we are going to run something called the CAPER report, and this will convert a HUD CSV into a CAPER formatted CSV. And that CAPER formatted CSV is what a ESG subrecipient will provide to their participating jurisdiction or to their funder so that that funder may submit it into the eCart tool. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to log into ETO. Once in ETO, we are going to go ahead and navigate to the program that we're interested in. We're going to use Catholic Charities as a test for today. Once we are in Catholic Charities site, we are going to go to Reports, down to Manage HMIS Data Pools. Now, to create a data pool, we're simply going to click on Create Data Pool. We are going to select the 4.1 HUD CSV version. It's very important for the CAPER tool to work correctly with the data. It needs to be in this 4.1 format. We're going to leave the hash status as unhashed. We are going to select what is appropriate for our data. If your ESG funding affects more than one program at your site, then you will probably either need to pull your data as a site or as a program group. If you are a little bit confused as to how to pull data as a program group, I have another video that will show you how to create a program group. But you would simply select program group, and then you'll have given your program group a name, and then you would select that program group for the subsequent menu. For the sake of this example, though, we're just going to select this program. So at this time, this is going to pull data just for this CCESG program. We would select the date range. Now, this date range is going to be specific to your funder, so you will need to get the appropriate date range from your funder. Don't just copy what we have here. So once we've got the date range selected, we're going to click Submit, and at this point, the data will begin to pull. Do note that it will be queued for processing, that only one data pool can be going on in the continuum of care at a time. So you may have to wait some time if there are quite a few data pools ahead of you. You're just going to have to be patient. Once the data pool has started, as we can see now, it says please wait processing. That means it has begun. At that point, for a year's worth of data, it should take under 15 minutes. I should say one program that has a year's worth of data should be under 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead and look at the data after it has been pulled. So as you can see, the data has completed. We know this because it has a little check bar or a little check mark next to it. At this point, what we need to do is we need to move the data from ETO to this other tool that ETO has purchased to kind of work with ETO. And that tool is called the homelessdata.com. And I say tool, what it really is, it's a tool suite. It has a package of different tools that help us prepare HMIS data for different funders. Today we're focused on the CAPER. So we move the data over to this new homelessdata.com by clicking on reporting. Now the confusing part is the reporting button is hit, you can click go to reporting, and what that's going to do is it's going to take you to an old system that preceded homelessdata.com. But today, instead of clicking on that button, go to reporting, we are actually going to open up a second tab in Internet Explorer. It needs to be Internet Explorer 9 or higher. When we have that second tab open, we are going to type into the bar homelessdata.com, and we should land on this new homelessdata.com splash page. We are going to then navigate to login And here we have the login page for homelessdata.com. Now your login information should be the same as the old tool suite called Agency Dash. If you no longer have that login information, it's best that you get with the HMIS office through a help desk request, requesting that you have an account created. However, one important difference between the old Agency Dash and this new homelessdata.com is that in Agency Dash, the HMIS office could reset your password. We could change your password for you. Unfortunately, homelessdata.com does not give us that option. If you have any issues with your password, you can't remember your password, you must use the forgot your password link. It will then request your email address, and that should be also your username. So it should then email you a link to reset your password. So I'm going to type my email address and enter my password and press login. Now, if those of you who use Agency Dash, this may look somewhat familiar to you, but I'm going to go ahead and take you on a quick tour of this new homelessdata.com. The first thing we want to look at is this option over here called data. This data is going to be all the data that we have moved over, all the data pools that we have moved over from ETO into this homelessdata.com tool. So the way you would know if your data has moved over correctly is you're looking at the export ID. Coming back to our ETO software tab, we can see that this export ID, that the export that we just completed, the export ID on that is right here, 2255, is listed right here, 2255, meaning the data that came out of this ESG homeless prevention program has moved over to homelessdata.com correctly. And I say correctly, the little green check mark right here where it says ready, that's indicating that the data has moved in correctly. You may have this exclamation mark that says error. That is due to the data not being formatted correctly. At that point, you will need to contact your HMIS, the HMIS office, so that we can help you troubleshoot what's going on there. Okay. So we've covered a lot. So let's recap real quickly. We do our data pool in the ETO software for the information, for the period that we're looking to report on. It needs to be the date range that our funder requests. It needs to be in the version format 4.1. When we've finished our data pool, we are going to click on reporting. Now, it's important, and you may ask, why do we need to click on reporting when that's just trying to take us to the old Agency Dash? And Thomas, you told us to go ahead and just type in homelessdata.com. And that is true, but there's two things that happen when you click on reporting. One, it's redirecting you to the old Agency Dash, but it's also moving the data over. So the reason that this export 2255 is in homelessdata.com right now is because we had clicked on that reporting button. So it's very important. So the data has been moved over. We've then logged into homelessdata.com. We've clicked on the data tab here, and we've looked to see that our export has actually been brought in correctly. So at this point, we're ready to run the CAPER tool. Now, just to give you an idea what the CAPER tool does, it's a reporting tool that has an algorithm that runs across the data that you just pulled in, formats it in such a way that you, and by you I mean your funder, can drop it into the eCart tool. Or you can actually pull that CAPER file out yourself, and you can run it through the eCart tool yourself to begin to identify errors, because the eCart tool has a validation system built in, which we'll look at hopefully here in either this video or a future video. And you can see what data errors you have before you ever send it to your funder. And that's probably a best practice there. That will save you any back and forth from your funder, with your funder, you sending them your data, them telling you that it's not, it's not error-free or it's not within the acceptable margin, and requesting you clean it up and send it in again. Okay. So coming back to homelessdata.com, we know we have our data pulled in correctly because we've got our little green check mark. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the Reports tab. And you can see reports that I've run before. This one, the CAPER. We are going to select New. We are then going to select the CAPER. And we are going to select the reporting start date that matches the date that we used in our data pool. So for me, what I selected was October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. So I can put that in here, October 1st, 2015, and it goes ahead and it automatically populates the end date. And it does this because it's looking at your data pool and it sees that that's the last date of any data entry. So it's pretty neat. Region, we are going to leave blank. We don't need the region today. Now, you will probably not have all these options here. It will probably be just your agency's name, but you want to select the agency, the name of the agency that matches the data pool of the site name in ETO. It's a lot of words and kind of confusing. Main thing is just make sure that the agency is the right agency if you're working across a couple different agencies. We've selected the organization. Now here's the tricky part. We're going to leave the project blank. And you may click on it and you see a list of projects, but by leaving it blank, what it's doing is it's including all of these projects in that CAPER tool analysis, that report. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of the word there. So we're going to leave that blank. So to recap, we've got the start date, they have the end date, we're leaving the region blank, we're selecting the organization that we want to organization that we pulled the data from, we're leaving the project blank. At this point, we're going to click on Run Report, and it will begin to process. Now, this report should only take under a minute or two to run. It's not very long. So if it gets stuck here, you may exit out of homelessdata.com and come back in and try again. Okay, so it has completed. We know that because it has a printout over here. And at this point, we can take a look at the CAPER and see how it's formatted and see if our data are appropriate. It will have raw numbers here, but it will not have the raw data printed out for you. So it's de-identified here. I'm going to say that specifically. It's de-identified here. Okay. Now we can do a couple things. If we're interested, we can go ahead and download this PDF, and it will be this information that you see here in this window as a PDF. But for the eCart tool, we want to download, and it cuts it off, but this should say Download CSV. We click that button. It's going to ask us how we want to, do we want to open it or save it? We're going to click on Save As. We're then going to name our data package. And for this one, we ran it for Catholic Charities, Homeless Prevention. And I highly encourage you to put the date range that you've run it for. So this was data for October 1st, 2015 to September 30th, 2016. And I'm going to go ahead and save that on the desktop for the sake of simplicity. And we can now click on Open Folder. That will direct us to the folder of where we saved that. And as you can see, we've got that correctly formatted CAPER data set right there. And that's it. That's how you pull your data out of ETO for your HMIS organization. That's how you move it over to homelessdata.com. You run it through the CAPER tool, and ultimately producing a CAPER formatted CSV that can be submitted to your ESG funder so that they can put that in the eCart. Thank you. If you have any questions, please reach out to the HMIS office.